Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's is a good one, and it comes from one of you guys out there. A viewer reached out to me and wanted to know, is there any good presentations that are finesse for fishing around grass? They're concerned that if they use finesse presentations that may result in lost fish, broken off fish because you can't get a finesse presentation into areas where you might power fish if you're fishing around grass. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, there are lots of really good finesse presentations that you can fish around grass. In fact, there's a lot of times where, for me personally, I've won a lot of money in a lot of tournaments where I'm throwing really light finesse presentations in areas that guys are power fishing, and I'm getting the bites and they're not. On some lakes, specifically like up here in the North Country, if you've got milfoil, but it's one of those lakes that don't have a lot of milfoil because maybe the lake association is spraying it or they're trying to get rid of it, so you may have little clusters of milfoil around. Those are really good places to fish, but they're really obvious places to fish. So most anglers will go and target them, which means those little grass clumps are getting pounded really hard. So a finesse presentation can give you the upper hand as to, how to catch those fish when other people are not getting those same bites. So I'm here to tell you guys, you absolutely can catch fish out of grass using finesse presentations, but there are some adjustments that you may want to make. So I'm going to go over my 3 favorite grass presentations that are all finesse style and kind of walk you through how I like to fish them and why I like to fish them and what you need to do in order to be effective fishing around grass so you don't lose the fish, so you don't break fish off, and where you should be concentrating your baits. Before I get into these specific techniques, I do want to remind you to check out the lake breakdowns that I'm doing with fishthemoment.com. The link is in the description of the video. It's a great way to get you started on a lake in your local area. It's me specifically going through the lakes, marking 40 waypoints as to what I would be fishing if I was fishing those lakes. They're broken up by technique, they're broken up by season. Check them out. The link's in the video description. All right, guys. So I've got 3 main techniques, finesse techniques that I'll fish anytime I'm around grass. If for whatever reason, typical power fishing techniques like punching or swim jigs or spinner baits or chatter baits are not working in the grass, these are techniques that you can revert back to and probably catch a few extra fish. The first one is one that's really not anything crazy. If you watch the channel regularly, you know that in my opinion, a Wacky Rig is one of the best baits you can throw to get bit. Well, a Wacky Rig can be hard to fish around grass because the way the bait's rigged up, it gets caught in grass. It just doesn't come through super clean. Well, what I'll do is just instead of throwing a Wacky Rig, I will throw a Texas rigged weightless Senko or stick worm or general, whatever it is that you want to throw. In this case, this is one of my favorite colors for fishing around grass. This is the baby bass color in the Berkeley General, the Maxcent General. I love it just because it gives you a little bit of flash, and at the same time, it's natural and blends in with the green of the weeds. But here's the key. So you want that slow fall that's just going to kind of wobble down to the bottom. That's what triggers the strikes. You get that with a Wacky Rig, but you can achieve that almost as well with a weightless Texas rig. But because it's rigged Texas style, it's weedless. You can work it through the grass really well. You can let it fall on the weed lines. You can let it fall into weed holes. And I throw it on light gear. I throw it on, 8 to 10 pound test on a spinning rod. Here's the key though. When you get a fish on this, if you're fishing, say, around heavy grass, or maybe you're fishing a milfoil edge where you've got topped out milfoil, but then a clean edge, which is one of my favorite places to throw this, a lot of times those fish will get you caught in the milfoil. Do not put pressure on them. Do not try to force them out. I'm telling you guys, those fish will bury themselves up or they'll work themselves out. One of the two. All you got to do is keep pressure on your rod. They'll either eventually come out or they'll get so balled up you can go right up to them and just grab them out, just like they would be stuck in a clump of hyacinth or a clump of, topped out grass if you were punching it. The key here is you do not pull too hard. If you pull too hard, that fish will probably break you off because at one point when you're pulling, they're going to create a surge, or you're just going to get stuck and try to pull them out. The worst thing you can do is try to force them out of that grass. You let them work themselves out, or you go in and get them after they've, balled up in the grass. But this is an absolute dynamite finesse presentation. Another one of my favorites, which a lot of guys don't do, is to fish a drop shot. A drop shot, yes, and I'll do it still with the exposed hook. Here is the key though, when you're throwing a drop shot around grass. I like to use a really long leader. So this is when I'm fishing grass that may be a couple feet off the bottom. A lot of times this happens with like sand grass and that eelgrass mats that you get where the eelgrass grows a couple feet off the bottom, but then has a clean top. You get this as well in the spring when you get a lot of that new grass growth, when you get new milfoil growth or coontail growth, where it's only a couple feet off the bottom. You throw a long leader. You put a 3-foot leader on your drop shot. That keeps your bait up above the grass, and it's a really effective way to catch them. The other nice thing about that is a lot of times your weight will kind of hold down in the grass, so you can really keep your bait in an area for a little bit longer than you normally would because the grass is holding onto your weight. The key here, though, is not only do you need a long leader, you also want a cylinder-shaped weight instead of a ball-shaped weight. The cylinder weight will fall in and out of the grass much easier than a ball weight. A ball weight will get caught up in the grass. So you want a long leader and you want a cylinder-shaped weight, and you can still work a drop shot through the grass. It is a really good way to trigger strikes. A lot of the smallmouth fishermen up north love this technique if they're fishing big sand flats and gravel flats where you've isolated grass here and there. It's a great way to trigger strikes from smallmouth. The last one is a topic that I've done videos on before, and that's a jig worm. A jig worm, guys, is just a 4-inch worm like this Berkley power bait on an exposed 90-degree jig head, but it's a super light jig head. This is the 16th ounce half head by Berkley. One of my favorite little jig heads. You can use it for like Ned rigs and stuff like that, but you would normally say, why throw an exposed hook? Well, you don't have to. You can throw a lightly weighted Texas rig on a, just like EWG style hook, but I really like the jig head style hook where it's an exposed hook. The key here is because it's a 16th ounce bait, this bait will fall down and sit on top of the grass. You may, get caught up here and there, but a quick rip of the rod will trigger this bait to come flying out of the grass, and that triggers strikes as well. But the jig worm is all about fishing like your weed lines, holes in the weeds, and it's such a lightly weighted bait that the slow fall just keeps it from really burying down in the grass. It is 100%, something up here in the North Country, the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, guys clobber the fish on this. You don't see it much else out of this area, but I can assure you that this finesse presentation is absolutely killer. The key is you need a really light jig head to keep you from burying down into the grass. But these 3 presentations, guys, are all finesse presentations that I have won tournaments on up here in the North Country and used all over the country to cash checks in professional level tournaments. So don't think you can't go finesse in weeds. You 100% can, and a lot of times it will get you double the amount of bites. So give it a try. Don't let the grass scare you off. Get in it, throw some light line, throw some light baits, small hooks. You'll get the fish out. Just don't force them out. Let them work themselves out or go in and get them after they ball up. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. This came from one of you guys out there. If you've got other topics you want to see me talk about, throw it in the comment section. Otherwise, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, another video coming out tomorrow.